Middle East changing hands by Sykes-Picot Agreement from British and French, from the Ottoman Empire to British and French hands, and the Italian to some extent. I must say, over the last 50 years, the Arab world and the Middle East, by and large, got into the grip of dictators who abused the people, minorities and majorities, by the way. I can't see that the average Egyptian is enjoying freedom or average person in Iran. Probably a little bit of difference. If you're a minority, you might treat it badly, as my Kurdish colleagues say. But generally speaking, it's appalling regimes, regimes which do not respect humanity, do not respect their country, they steal the funds, and they just spread corruption and cover up with a huge network of censorship. I think the Arab people, particularly in the Middle East, have been pushed to the wall, and which erupted into the Arab Spring, which unfortunately is failing, but hopefully it will recover. Human rights, I think, is an issue not just for states and governments, but for families, because if you look at women, wave dress, burqa, and others, lots of times is a family issue. Parents who pressurize their daughter, FGM, female genital mutilation, for example, it should come from the family and society in general. So I think there's a big problem, in my view, I think is the politicizing religion as a tool of oppression. In the Middle East, we know Islam, in my view, some people might disagree with me, I think it needs a way of understanding in a different way to suit the 21st century, which some people will say Reformation, some people will disagree with the word Reformation, but I believe without reformation of religion, when I say reformation, I mean respecting the individual rights, how to practice, how to understand the religion, how to live his life, which again go back to the women, a choice in life, if you want to cover the head or not to cover the head, or marry or not to marry, to live in choice, because it is all incarcerated within the religious constriction. Another thing which I believe we should encourage is building institutions inside or outside the countries, because there is professionals abroad, like in England, like in Europe, they still can build their institutions, some form of institutions, if it's not possible inside their countries. Because most of the institutions in the Arab world and Middle East are politicized and tied to regimes. I think that's very important. The one thing which is plus with minorities, with people's rights, is the old censorship is gone, because with modern communication, with social media, it became impossible to cover up, say, for abusing people, or torturing people, or imprisoning people, or killing people, or disappearing people, like what happened in various countries in the Middle East. The dictators can no longer hide behind slogans of patriotism, because, like Panama Papers, have exposed a lot of dictators and supposed to be good citizens for stealing their poor countries' wealth. The migration is, or immigration is a big challenge, not just for Europe, it's for the local countries should take responsibility about it, and as well we should see ways of creating stability for places like Syria, for people to stay, because if the young people run away from their country, who's going to fight the war for them? So I think it's important to create safe haven for these people to stay and help their country. One thing I must say, Kurds tend to be very secular people, comparing to us Egyptians, say. There must be some way forward. is to continue to work, to expose dictatorship, to persist, and to be honest in doing exposure, to avoid Photoshop, because sometimes now is a Photoshop war. People put false photos from Syria, says from Gaza or from Egypt. In Egypt, say, tend to be coming from somewhere else. I think that's really counterproductive and as well undermine credibility. I think everything got to be transparent, clear, honest, and that's the way you can defeat dictatorship, and that's why we can reform the Middle East 100 years after Sykes-Picot, and I'm sure there is light in the end of the tunnel, but it can disintegrate into small pieces which will never come together again. Thank you.